Okay, so we continue learning in the month of Elul, sponsored in Leilui Nishmas Bani Silver, Bas Yefega, Bas Yisrael, and Leilui Nishmas Avram Chai ben Yosef Shimon, by the Englanovs, by Mishpachat Avram for the Refuah Shlema of Moshe Asher ben Malka, Leah Rachel Bas Chaya, and Harry and Adrian Kozlovsky, in gratitude, oh, this is so sweet, in gratitude for the Bashert of Shirat David and Rav Katz. I should read these things before I his inspiration. Okay, there's a lot of nice things over here. I just, you'll read it. It's too hard for you. It's very, very sweet. Wow. All right. Kamuvan, it goes without saying that today's shir is completely aligned with exactly what's going on right now in the world. And every second of our learning, of opening our hearts, should be mamash for a shmirah on Am Yisrael and determination for Am Yisrael and our holy, precious chayalim to Bezrat Hashem be matzliach in eradicating evil from the world. And it should be a besora where obviously we're saying it should be Leman Am Yisrael, but whenever we're talking about the protection of Am Yisrael, we're of course really mechaven that it should be for the protection for the whole world, for the shalom of the whole world, of all righteous people, of all those that are seeking peace, and that want to make Hashem's name great in the world and have Him as a melech al kol haaretz, which is what Rosh Hashanah is all about, really. So there's going to be a question that we're going to be asked. Well, there's a few questions we're going to be asked when we get to Shamayim. We know some of them. The main ones that we know, some of the ones that we think about a lot. Of course, one of them is like Nasata v'natata be'emunah. It's one of the main questions we know. The Gemara tells us we're going to be asked, were you a mensch when it came to business? Were you an honest person when it came to ben adam l'chavero? But there is the question that we have, which is, were you a Yid that was anticipating the coming of Mashiach? Tzipita liyeshua. Were you anticipating the coming of Mashiach? Did you live a life of tzipita liyeshua? Not did you wait, but not in chikita liyeshua. Could have said that. Chikita liyeshua doesn't say that. It says tzipita liyeshua. And one of the key things we have to understand in this series about the Yemot Mashiach is how are we going to answer that question? Now, there's two ways of imagining how that question will be answered or asked. One way will be, Tzipita liyeshua, did you spend your whole life, even till your last breath, anticipating and hoping for it to come? But I want to say that hopefully we will be asked, Tzipita liyeshua, and when it finally came, were you shocked? You see, either we learn this as if our whole lives are just going to be something that said that we're going to get to Shamayim, and they're going to ask us, even though it didn't come, were you still waiting? Were you still hoping? Were you still anticipating? Or you can imagine this to be asked as, and then when it eventually did come, were you from one of those that felt like this was exactly what you were, where your heart was, kol yamei chayecha, your whole life, everything you're waiting for? Now I know that in B'shat Milchama, like we're in right now, in a time of war like we're in right now, the Tzipita Liyeshua button, the volume gets up. It's natural. And there's no inyan to start feeling fake, like, I wasn't really Tzipita Liyeshua when things weren't so crazy. This is how human nature is designed. However, in Chassidus and Pnimius Torah, all we're always trying to do is make sure that we don't wait for catastrophes and horrible things to happen, Chalila, in order for us to be in the state of mind that many of us are in right now. And that's a very big lesson. Reb Nosson Breslover teaches, we've said this many times, the goal of life is to reach that place of tzama lechanafshi, of my soul is longing for you, and to feel your love, and to feel your closeness, not stemming from a place of I was freaking out, so I cleaved to you, but rather that the way I am when things are peachy and all beautiful is tzama lecha nafshi. That describes my mitziut in this world. My soul longs for you. I thirst for you. But hopefully we're going to begin to understand today, in the spirit of what we've been learning, what does it mean when we say, what did the Rambam mean when he said, V'af al pishit mameim kol ze achakelo? Because that could be a little bit confusing. Because according to the lashon of the Rambam, of the Yud Gimel Ikarim, achakelo means I waited for him. But when we come to Shamayim, they're not going to say, chikita lo? chikita liyeshua, they're going to say tzipita liyeshua. And we have to understand the difference between the two. Is that clear so far? That's a very important distinction between the two. Chikiti or tzipiti. Chikiti or tzipiti. It's interesting, when a woman's expecting, you don't say, lemat mechaka, or come, you don't use the language of lechakot when it comes to birth. You actually use the word tzipiyah. Matay etem mitzapim. I don't know in English how it works. Oh yeah, expecting. Yeah, it works very good. Sorry, it works very good. When are you expecting, or till when are you waiting? No one says that. Right? So how long are you guys waiting? How long have you been waiting? It's not the waiting thing. That's not how. It's not, that terminology is not used when it comes to birth. So the same thing we know must be plugged in with the way we are when it comes to this dream, Hashem's dream, called Mashiach, called the Geulah. So הציפייה לישועה היום יבוא, the day will come. בעניין ביאת המשיח, המקורות מדגישים לא רק את עצם האמונה בבואו, אלא גם את נחיצות הציפייה לקראתו. When it comes to the coming of Mashiach, the sources throughout Chazal don't just emphasize the matter of believing that it will happen, but rather what he says here, nechitzut. When something is nachutz, that means literally it's needed. It must be. That you are tzipiyah likrato, that you are expecting, anticipating, knowing that it will come. Now he explains, הרמב"ם בי"ג עיקרי האמונה שלו מדגיש, אם יתמהמה, חכה לו. If it's taking time, wait for it. כך הדברים מנוסחים גם באני מאמין. This is also how it's brought down in the Ani Mamins. ואף על פי שיתמהמה עם כל זה, אחכה לו בכל יום שיבוא. But like we opened up by saying, כמו כן ידועים דברי הגמרא, it's known what the Gemara says, שאחת השאלות ששואלים את האדם ביום הדין היא, ציפית לישועה. This seems to be contradicting a little bit. It seems there's some tension going on over here, because that's what the Gemara says. Again, they're not going to say chikita, they're going to use the lashon of tzipita. You could already see where we're going to go with this, right? There's a difference here. You already see what we're speaking about. יכול איפה יהודי להאמין בכל י"ג עיקרי האמונה. A Yid can believe in all 13 principles of faith, לעסוק כל ימיו בתורה ובמצוות בתכלית השלמות. You can keep every mitzvah to its full extent. Well, not every mitzvah, because we learned last week that you actually can't keep every mitzvah until Mashiach comes. What was the numbers? Remember? Right, so let's say all the mitzvahs that you were able to keep, you kept perfectly.
Women have less.
So, we're not going into that now. Aval, whatever mitzvah you're able to keep, male or female, Kohen, not Kohen, whatever mitzvah you're able to keep, let's say you keep it fully. Like Yemot, you keep it fully. But then he points out something here that's a real shock to the system. But if you didn't have this expecting for the Geula and for the Yeshua of Am Yisrael, you're going to stand before the Beis Din Shel Mala, Ya'amod nichlam mul hatvia elokit hagdola b'yom hadin, tzipita liyeshua. Imagine this, you're going to come before the heavenly court, and they're going to say, no, what was your... Man, this keeps on bringing me back to a movie that I mention once a year, always in Elul. Do you remember which movie I'm talking about? There's one movie there's only been one movie I've recommended people to watch. Only one. It's a movie called Defending Your Life. Do you remember this? Yeah. It's hard to say this because it seems so ridiculous. I mean, it's Elul, Shir, and we're learning. But there's this movie with Albert Brooks and what's her name? Meryl Streep. And it's about, it must be something the producers were Yidden. I mean, Bichlal, there must be nothing to do with this movie. That's just how that world works. But in this movie, there's like the equivalent of when you come to Beis Din Shel Mala, they're going to ask you a few questions. Now, in that movie, the question was, Did you live your life led by fear, or did you live your life led by courage? Like that's the. It just killed the whole movie for you, but I don't think anyone's gonna watch it. But it's very funny. But it's also very, very, in my opinion, very deep. I try watching it once a year around this time. It's a very chazak movie. Here they're saying like this: imagine you come to the Beis Din Shel Ma'ala, and they say, okay, let's take a look at your life. Let's see what it was like. And they're going to ask you, were you a good Jew? And you're going to answer that question based on what you did. What you did. But in Shamayim, this question, they're not asking you, there's no question, Kiyamt et kol mitzvot? That's not what they're going to ask you. They're going to ask you, Tzipita li Yeshua, meaning, how did you live that life? Was tzipita li Yeshua? This is such a big inyan, Chaver. This is like it's an Elul question. Like while you were doing everything right and making sure that you're not going to go to Gehenna, or you just wanted to make sure you're going to Gan Eden, tzipita li Yeshua, was that a part of your whole Yiddishkeit? Not a part. Was that an ikar? Was that like a deep inyan of the way that you conducted your life? Tzipita li Yeshua. Because he says you can keep every mitzvah. And yet that doesn't mean you can answer that question, Tzipita li Yeshua, in a positive manner. I know they didn't tell us this growing up. It said it's all diaper stuff. I know it's like, but we can blame it on the chinuch we had or didn't have. Said gamarnu. Now we're all in Kita Aleph again. We're saying in tshuva, right? So we're saying, yalla. So now we're learning from scratch. What does Torah Tzivulanu Moshe and what does basic mitzvahs really mean? Tzipita li Yeshua. And you could say, well, I made aliyah. Or you could say, well, I did a lot of important things that you could connect somehow that it was part of the Geula process. Ubechol zot, and still, ha'im tzipita li Yeshua. It's still there. That question is still there. Mikol ze barur, ki haTorah doreshet mikol Yehudi, sheyeh bo regesh mamashi. This is a very important phrase. It's clear that the Torah demands from every Jew that they should have a regesh mamashi. That means mamish a regesh, which means a palpable feeling that what? Shel tzipiyah lebias Hamashiach. Of anticipating the coming of Mashiach. Nosaf al etzem ha'emunah bo. That's in addition to the belief that Mashiach will come. That it's amazing how these last 5 words are really the key over here.
Does that kind of go with that, what I sent you? The difference between Torah,
it's good.
Officer, what was it?
I don't remember exactly, but it's this ruach. Yeah.
Torah observance can make it Torah absorption.
It could be definitely, we could stretch it out to mean this. But this is very deep, because what he's saying over here is, many people, if you ask them, do you believe in Mashiach? And they'll say yes, it's true, but then if you'll be asked, and your anticipation, was that part of the believing in Mashiach? And they could say, well, the Rambam didn't tell me that. It didn't say that in the Rambam. No one ever told me that I also have to do that. I just have to believe that it's going to happen. But the Gemara tells us in the Gemara Shabbos, but they're going to ask that. They're not going to ask you, did you wait for Mashiach? They're going to ask, did you anticipate its arrival? So we have to understand, what does it mean to anticipate its arrival? Now we have stories like from the Chafetz Chaim and from other tzaddikim that they slept with a bag ready by their bed. Special clothes, special belongings going on. And some of us are privileged to know a few holy tzaddikim and tzaddikisses that actually live like this. It's not really common. It's pretty rare. But, and I would say like this, hopefully we're nearing an age where it'd be really weird if someone doesn't live like this, because it's almost impossible to not grab on to a Torah like this and make it something surreal.
I mean, we're ready. No, like, what would we put in the bag? Like, why?
Maybe a tambourine, like Miriam and Neviah packed tambourines when we left Mitzrayim. It could be. I mean, listen, a tambourine is good. It could be, you fill in the blank. No, there's no Kitzur Shulchan Aruch that tells you what to put in that bag. As far as I know, there are no halachas of what to put in that bag. It doesn't, and be'emes, be'lamito, it doesn't really matter. Like that, there's a lo inyan, zelo nekuda. Do you have a bag? Is what the question is. The equivalent of
But
that.
it's here, I don't see why you need a physical bag.
Because we live in a physical world.
What
Do you know how many
when
people?
Mashiach comes, what am I going to do? I'm actually going to
May,
have to get other clothing?
maybe, and maybe
What
you
about
won't.
when you get ready for a wedding, like it's like your most thing, and you buy off, like it's like your whole, you have your special outfit for that day because it's important to you to be.
I hear what you're saying. We have to understand something. Hashem put us in a physical world. We're not just souls walking. We're souls in a body. That's the way we function. So to just say it's in my head, if I do that, there's like half of mitzvahs I don't even have to do. But there's a concept called mitzvah ma'asit. The mitzvahs have to be actualized. The tzaddikim speak about this. Imagine a person says, I learned all the deepest kavanas of what the mitzvah of tzitzis is supposed to really bring out in a person. And then you'll come to the conclusion, you could say, you know what, I realized I bypassed the whole thing of like the physical part of it because I know what I've connected to what it really is supposed to do for me. I'll take it a step further. It's not my chiddush, I saw this in the Sfarim. A person can come to that same realization regarding what it is to be with a soulmate, what they bring down into the world. And in their mind, they know what kind of a connection that brings down into the world. Mazel tov, you still have to get married. You actually still have to do something physical. You have to stand under a chuppah. You have to sign a ksuva. There has to be kiddushin. There has to be all the things that we need in order to make it actual. The problem is that we don't treat the mitzvah and the inyan of anticipating Mashiach the same way. It's like this thing of, and by the way, what you're saying, we all have it in our minds. We all have it. It's not just you. All of us have a little bit of that in our psyche. Because we say, well, Mashiach comes, it'll just, what would I need? What's going to be? It's going to be flying carpets. We already puzzled that last week and the week before. That's not the way that we understand it in this year. And the question is, if I'm anticipating in this world, what does that Lamaisa look like? What does that look like? And it's for us to answer that question because, it's for us to learn to elaborate it in our minds, for it to be more meaningful for us. But that's the beauty of Yiddishkeit, is that it's for us to prepare the bag. That's what the shir really is, preparing the bag, whatever that is. And the beauty is that it looks so different for many people. But the machaneh meshutaf, the common denominator, should be that there is a bag. Say that. Let's keep on going. Mivchan le'otzmat ha'emunah. This is a test. This whole thing that we're speaking about is a test for the power of emunah. את חשיבותה של הציפייה אפשר להסביר בכמה דרכים. The importance of anticipating Mashiach you can understand in a few ways. הציפייה בפשטות מעידה על עוצמת האמונה. He's saying, to the extent that you're anticipating Mashiach to come, is telling of how much you actually believe in it. That's a big din b'cheshbon sentence. Again, do you believe in the coming of Mashiach? Yes. And what's your level of anticipation for it? I don't really have, but I believe that it's going to happen. So certain mitzvahs, maybe that works for you. When it comes to Mashiach, and especially in light of the teachings of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, that won't cut it. That won't cut it. In accordance to how much you are anticipating, that is how much you are actually believing in that mitzvah. It's like a person, go back to Shidduchim. It's like a person that says, I fully believe that I will get married. Well, are you anticipating the arrival of your zivug in your life? No, I know though that emunah means Hashem loves me and it will happen. What are you doing for that? And it's like this with the real things in life, the real deep things in life. אך טבעי הוא שהמאמין בגאולה הצפויה והיודע את הטוב המופלא המזומן לו, חייב להשתוקק לרגע המיוחל שבו תפציע. It's just natural for a person that believes in the future redemption and knows the wondrous good that is waiting for us, they must long for that moment where this will come down and this will happen. V'chach ne'emar b'neviim, and this is what Yeshayahu Hanavi says, Ashrei kol chochelo, klomar, Ashrei ha'adam amechakeh lebias Mashiach, praiseworthy is the person who's waiting for the coming Mashiach. I would like to say that it would have sounded, it would have sounded a bit more spitz if we would have said, Ashrei kol tzofelo, or tzofotlo. But I'm not messing with the Yeshayahu Hanavi right now. I'm just saying, hopefully we'll make shalom between the tension between the two of lechakot versus letzapot. But that's what is ashrei. Praiseworthy is the person that their mitzius of their life is one that this is really how they spent their time here in this world. This is really what they did. Now again, this can be very difficult because many of us could look at our lives, bifrat those that pulled all our families out of comfortable lifestyles, what we knew in Galut, in Chutz La'aretz, and came home and came to Eretz Yisrael. And we think that we could just answer back that question in Shamayim when they ask us, Tzipita Lishua, and we could answer by saying, what? What would we answer? Of course. Why? Because we made Aliyah. That doesn't work. That is not enough. Do you know how many Jews made Aliyah? All of them. Do you understand? All Jews that are in Eretz Yisrael right now, at a certain point, made Aliyah. How many original, like Yerushalmi families, what they call Samech Tetim, which means Sfaradi Tahor, which means they could trace their family lineage back to dwelling in Eretz Yisrael for Dorei Dorot. How much percentage of the Jewish people that live here right now fall into that category? Very, very small. Very small. We're not saying, chas v'shalom, that it's not part of the Geula process. What we are saying is that that's not enough. That move is not enough to truly answer that question on the anticipation level. It's a step. It's one of the greatest steps that a person can do. But it's listen, I mean, don't kill me for saying this. I know plenty of Yidden that don't live in Eretz Yisrael, that they emitzapim liyishua. It's hard for you to hear, I know. But it's true. You'd say, if you really were mitzapim liyishua, you'd make Aliyah. Well, I'm not putting it either here or there. I'm saying that talk it has not done what we thought it would do probably by now. Tzrichim yoter mizeh. So yes, we moved, Baruch Hashem, that happened. Aval, like Hanan Ben Ari sings, Yesh kan yoter mizeh. There's got to be, there's much more to this inyan of tzipita lishua than just making aliyah. Don't kill me for saying that. You know what I feel about aliyah, obviously. You know what I feel about where every Jew belongs. But I'm saying that every Jew belongs in Eretz Yisrael with a tzipiyah lishua. I do. I bless myself for this. יהודי, second line, יהודי האומר שהוא מאמין בביאת המשיח, אבל אין בו ציפייה לכך. A Jew that says he believes in the coming of Mashiach, but he doesn't have any anticipation or expecting for it, מעיד על עצמו שאמונתו רופפת למדי. That's saying about himself that his emunah in what he says he believes in is rofef. Rofef, you know what that means? What's that? It's like, yeah, it's not solid. It's not solid. בהכרח שזו אמונה הלוקה בחסר, במובן זה או אחר. שאם לא כן, איך ייתכן שאין בנפשו ציפייה דרוכה ליום השם הגדול? I know it's hard stuff to hear, but it's very important. He's saying, if you really anticipated what you believed in, then when you say you believe in the coming of Mashiach, the way you would answer yes would be so rock solid. And not like, I believe, but if it doesn't come, I'll still be okay. How many of us actually believe that if Mashiach doesn't come, we won't be okay? Really? In our lifetime. I'll say it the other way. How many of us believe that if Mashiach doesn't come chas v'shalom in our lifetimes, that we really won't be okay?
Part of us.
Nachon.
This also answers what we asked last week.
Yeah.
If you're excited or if you're scared. Like it should be something you're excited for because you want it so much, not
Right.
fear for it.
Right. Nachon? Nachon.
There's
Yeah.
also a fear to want.
I'm sorry?
There's a fear to want.
There's a fear to want? Is this...
Because of disappointment.
Betach, of course.
Like,
Right.
like when you said that question, I was like, yes.
But...
But like to say
Right.
it, to admit it, and to be like disappointed in
Right.
it.
Yeah, so we live throughout the current and everything.
But doesn't the
Everything else-
disappointment
Correct.
counteract expectations?
I'm sorry?
Doesn't the disappointment mean you're not expecting it? Like, don't you need one?
We're going to figure that out. Wait, Chaya, your hand was up.
I was just thinking that when you wait for something, you can be scared about it versus like expectations are usually more positive.
Depends what you're meaning. This is a very interesting thing. If you know what you're expecting,
And
then
you have that.
exactly. Now the thing is, like in this year, we're trying to discover what is it exactly that we're expecting. And we're gonna keep up. We're gonna elaborate. We're gonna get very, very clear. Yeah.
There's a problem with this CPI, because if you really reach the ideal of CPI, how can you plan for anything in the future? You're expecting is the whole Yom Sheh. How can you?
Very good. Very good. Very good. These are great questions. This one I was like on my gut is to say wait and see how we understand what it is we're waiting for, expecting. But let's unpack this for a second. Explain to me where you see tension, and I'm with you, Elaine. I just want to hear from you. Where's that tension?
Let's say investing in building something.
Mm.
Because like, isn't everything going to be redistributed?
Mm.
Like everyone's going to be moved around.
Location though. Where are you referring?
But if you don't really believe that.
No, but wait. This is very important. You said a very important thing. Investing in building where?
What if it's not
In Israel or in Chutz La'aretz?
in Israel.
What if it's
Let's
not in a halal
even
area?
say Chutz La'aretz. If you're saying that you could be truly a mitzvah in Chutz La'aretz, then surely,
Yeah.
for sure then, right?
Okay. That's a given. So now you're saying in Eretz Yisrael, why would I build what? Shuls? No, this is very good what you're saying. The first Shabbos,
Or like a house. Let's say we're not in the shaven of wherever we built our house.
You're
Right?
fair.
We're gonna be moving.
Very good. Very good. I will tell you that the first Shabbos we were up here, first Shabbos we were in the building, I spoke about this. I said that there was a part of me that wants to like live in protest to Hashem, saying, until you build your home, I'm not building my home either, right? But I could do that for myself. What about the cloud? The cloud, you can't enforce that thing on the cloud. And if I'm homeless, you all have to remain homeless as well. You can't do these types of things. There is an inyan of building mekomot shel kedusha to fill the land with kedusha, and let Mashiach reconfigure everything that needs to be reconfigured. Let that be the problem that Mashiach has to figure out. There are a lot of things like that we could say. Someone once told me, you need to come up with a campaign that Kohanim or women can also be Mashiach. Because there's an Indian that brought down that Kohen can't be Mashiach, and that it's probably not going to be a woman, it's going to be a man. And I said to him, well, but that goes, that's like, doesn't seem like the mistader with our Mekorot. He said, let Mashiach come and show you how that could be. Meaning, the point is that it should happen, and then those other things in the examples that you're given will work themselves out once there's a complete new messianic reality in front of us. Because the alternative is Auschwitz. The alternative is we won't last, humanly speaking, if we don't attempt to set up temporary shop here in Eretz HaKodesh. It's been proven. It's been proven what I'm saying right now. This is not speculation. This is what the world was like for 2,000 years, and this is in 1939, came in front of our eyes fully. And there was a strong, religious, firm voice that said, do not build in Eretz Yisrael. And maybe some of it was coming from what you're saying, which is true. But look, what was our alternative? So even the way we build here in Eretz Yisrael, you build a house, and what do you have to have in your home? Zecher l'churban. When you get married and you think it's the highest moment in the world, what do you have to bring to that moment? A clear awareness that until Hashem's home is rebuilt, even this simcha cannot be complete. And that's the best that we could do. Combining both worlds of anticipating while actively doing whatever I can to build this world with holiness. There's a few other hands up, I just don't remember. Because this is very important stuff. Anyone else?
We were just discussing at our Shabbos table yesterday.
Yeah.
That any land that you own anyways in Israel is a 95-year lease. You don't own anything.
It's very interesting, yeah.
99
99-year, yeah. I wonder who did that, like who put that in the... It's true. It's very interesting, yeah. No other country in the world would ever act like this, no other civilization would say, you're investing your life into something that your great-grandchildren have to figure out how to deal with. And yet us in our Yerusha, our Yerusha is a living testimony to how much we understand that we in this world, in Olam Hazeh, the way we act, nothing is permanent. And I will say one thing about any type of masal matan. The halacha says that you're not supposed to engage in any masal matan during the 9 days. So everyone thinks that it's because of mazel, it's bad mazel, and that you shouldn't sign contracts, you shouldn't do any of these things. In Pnimis Torah it says because those are the days of heightened anticipation for Mashiach coming, how could you sign something that shows that your anticipation is like a minhag that you took on, but lemaisa, your life is a different entity. Yeah, Eva.
I have two questions that I'm trying to work out. If you really have emunah, like this emunah of the Mashiach, then isn't it like you have emunah in the whole process and the whole thing? And so why is like the tzipiyah separate from that? If you really have emunah in like the whole Mashiach package, aren't they all like the same? Like I'm trying to figure out like why is it so separate? Like why are we trying to separate the two? That's number one. And then I'm trying to figure out like, and maybe I just don't know enough about Mashiach. Actually, for sure, I don't know enough about Mashiach. Like how am I really like truly anticipating something that like I really don't know what that looks like? Like
that is why you're in this shir. That's why I'm in this shir. No. For real. I'm not trying to be cute with that answer. That is why I chose to learn this year. To address exactly what you just said. Like, as clearly, I can't be clearer. You couldn't have dragged that out better. It's just that most of us are embarrassed to admit what you just said. Because we're from. Because we're from. We're Orthodox.
Even as you said that, I had such a reaction. I was like, well, what if we get to the end of the year and we still don't know what that looks like?
That's like what one of the Avrechim said to me in the beginning of this man last year. He said, what if I go through this whole 2 years and I don't become a chassid? That's what he said. Like, what if? I'm like, okay. Like, in that situation, that's okay. Here it's different. Here we have to do our best. We have to try. We have to do our ishtadlut. Huh?
You have to take those first steps.
We have to try, yeah. We have to attempt to widen our horizon and to absorb a completely new perspective on something that we think we have down pat. Because if we had that down, Mashiach would probably be here. And that's what this sefer comes about, and that's why. And really, this is coming from a direct hora'ah from the Lubavitcher Rebbe in Chavchet Nisan Tavshin Nun Aleph, I think it was, where he said like that. Now the focus must be when it says like to prepare for Mashiach coming. The tzipiyah is based on the learning of what are you anticipating, for what is it you're longing for. So we began to decipher this last week, and what did we say last week? We understood that Mashiach coming, based on the Rambam, means we will have access to be able to mekayem all mitzvot, which we don't have anything close to that right now. And then you have to understand, what does that mean? That I could actually wrap my whole consciousness, awareness, and activity in this life fully engaged in all the mitzvahs in the Torah. We have to understand what that means, what that looks like. How much does one mitzvah mean to you right now? How much do you wrap yourself around one mitzvah right now at this moment? And this whole sefer will be explaining to us more and more, Bezrat Hashem, explaining to ourselves, what is it you are anticipating? And the more you understand what you're anticipating, the more you're learning about what you're anticipating, the more your emunah in what you're anticipating becomes clearer and stronger and more solid to you. When it comes to birth, you don't know if it's, well, today you could know what sex it is, but put that aside for a second. You know what you're anticipating, especially if it's after your first child. And then you know a little bit more about what's waiting for you after 9 months, meaning like the shock, the life changes, the lack of, sorry, I'm just like living it right now, the lack of, the lack of sleep and everything. Like, you know what you're anticipating. That's when it comes to a child. That's why Rabbi Levi Yitzchak B'Dichver says, that's why in Tisha B'Av we say, Eli Tzion ve'areah kmo isha b'tzivea. It's like, emunah is that understanding that Yerushalayim in its current state is like a woman in Braxton Hicks. Mamish. That is emunah in it. But you, with a child, with a pregnancy, you know more or less what you're going to be expecting. We need to stop living in a reality of like, emunah is this, Mashiach is an abstract concept. No, that can't continue. If we really believe in the coming of Mashiach, and if we really want the coming of Mashiach. And it doesn't have to be so abstract. And I don't know where it came to be that people leave this as a thing of like, whatever. It's not as important to learn out. Today, what could be more important? What could be more important? Yeah, Miriam.
Meaning, I feel like on the other hand, meaning it could be dangerous on the other end also, because I do this a lot. Like, now I'm dealing with Rosh Hashanah seating. Mashiach's going to be here by then, so I don't have to, do these things because it's going to all be solved. I don't know, the building's going to expand. And so you believe so much, then it also limits you in actual action of today that you have to do.
That is correct if we anticipate the coming of Mashiach like we anticipate things that, other things in life. Meaning the mechanism of the anticipation for the coming of Mashiach in its pnimiyut can never diminish or weaken any avodat kodesh. Afuch. It only strengthens it. When it comes to other things, you're right. 100%. Like that person that's struggling so much, parnasa-wise, and they know there's a crazy rich aunt that doesn't have any kids that is about to drop dead, leaving that Yerusha. Why should I work so hard that's going to come and solve my... That's not how it works over here. That's what we're going to learn. The anticipation for the coming of Mashiach strengthens any work, any investment into Avodat HaKodesh and weakens and hopefully dismisses investment into things that are unimportant. Mamash. Huh? Materialism or confused spirituality as well, which is something that the generation is very much stricken with. Yes, absolutely. Guys, this is an exciting thing. It's not a... I know there's so much fear in the room right now because of the unknown, but this type of learning should make us feel much more aligned with the fact that we're sitting here chilling while there's a war a few minutes from here up north, craziness down south, Mishigas, because this is our way of, while our children are on the front line, this is our way of aligning ourselves with what we believe is about to happen, but we need to strengthen that belief by learning what Chazal say about the formation of how it's going to happen. Okay? Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know, I feel when you really truly expect that it's, sorry, you're gonna like go back and forth between being excited or even, like Marion said, like not moving forward, and then also you can go to the lows of disappointment every single, day, whatever minute that Mashiach's not here.
We've addressed it, but I'm just going to repeat it. I'm just going to repeat it differently, actually. And what?
And I don't know, it's like it's just gonna like feel your life's gonna feel very bipolar, I guess.
So your life, yeah, that's correct. That's a description of reality today. Yes. Ubechol zot, we're sitting here getting strong. It's true. There's no guaranteed path with the anticipation of Mashiach that once you start anticipating correctly, it's just going to be like this. Napitom. But I'd rather be on this than Chalila lahefech, which is just slow decline. Slow decline. Okay, I don't have a watch. I don't have a 10. Just a few more minutes. Okay. I'm going to say this paragraph again. יהודי האומר שהוא מאמין בביאת המשיח, אבל אין בו ציפייה לכך, מעיד על עצמו שאמונתו רופפת למדי. בהכרח שזו אמונה הלוקה בחסר, במובן זה או אחר. שאם לא כן, איך ייתכן שאין בנפשו ציפייה דרוכה ליום השם הגדול? We're in the fourth line of this middle paragraph. יהודי המאמין בטוב הנפלא הצפוי לו לעם ישראל, לעולם כולו, ולשכינה בבוא המשיח, איך ייתכן שלא יהיה חדור ציפייה עצומה לראות את הטוב הזה? Let's try to understand. If I really believe Mashiach is coming, which means that I believe that there actually will be peace and prosperity in the world, and Hashem's Shechina will return to where it belongs, bagalui, in its revealed manner. Then he says over here, how could it be that I won't be filled with tzipiyah? Al ken, therefore, ככל שיש באדם יותר ציפייה לבוא המשיח, the more that a person has tzipiyah, anticipation for the coming of Mashiach, בכך הוא מעיד על עצמו, he testifies on himself, שגם אמונתו בביאת המשיח שלמה יותר, that our emunah in the coming of Mashiach is more shalem. This is based on a sikha of the Rebbe that you see on the footnote on the bottom, that the Rebbe gave in 1989. We want the things that we believe in to fully believe in them. Shlema. Emunah shlema. Tzipiyah fills my emunah and doesn't just keep it as a thing of, it's there in the back, but I don't really activate it so much, and it doesn't play that much of a role in my life. Just going to do this last paragraph. הציפייה לביאת המשיח גם מעידה שהיהודי תופס נכון את כל חיי התורה והמצוות. This is beautiful. He's saying that the anticipation of the coming of Mashiach also testifies that a Jew tofes nachon. How would you say that? Tofes nachon. You get the whole thing of Torah and mitzvahs. You get it. You get it right. He's going to explain. הלא כפי שהוסבר בפרק הקודם, כל עבודתנו בלימוד התורה ובקיום המצוות, our avoda of learning Torah and keeping mitzvahs נועדה להכשיר את העולם. We keep Torah and mitzvahs. We build kedusha. We do whatever we can להכשיר את העולם, to prepare and kasher up the world לקראת הגילויים הגדולים בימות המשיח. Everything we're doing is prep work for the revealed state of godliness which will exist in the time of Mashiach. A world without a world where there's one nigun you'll never have to sing when Mashiach comes. One nigun for sure. I mean many, but one for sure. ואפילו בהסתרה שבתוך ההסתרה. Like that won't be. Right, and אני מאמין, נכון. Right? I don't know, people, אני מאמין Mashiach. No, just the end won't be. But I'll still say I believe in the coming of Mashiach, meaning I believe it's still, that it's real. Like soulmates should never stop davening to find their soulmates once they found them. The same Indian. But I won't be there. That's why the Lubavitch Rebbe wasn't so big in singing those words.
Can you say that again? Wait, even once you found your soulmate, you continue davening for it?
100%. You better. Yeah. Even once you're davening to have children, you have to continue to daven for your, to have the meaning and the purpose of what children are in your life. Like when soulmates stop davening over each other once they found each other, that's like a yid that stops davening over making aliyah to Eretz Yisrael once they made aliyah.
But the davening is no longer seeking them out,
It's seeking the pnimius of Mount, 100%. Just because something happened physically doesn't mean that there shouldn't be a drive and a desire to understand what you have deeper. So but here we're saying is astara shebetocha astara, we believe, meaning, and even in a concealment, amongst the concealment, I have to believe, bevadai gam sham nimtza Hashem Yisbarach. When Mashiach comes, that nigun won't be sung, because we're not going to be living in a world of concealment. We're going to understand what that means to live in a world of revealed. We have to understand what that means and stop just saying that, oh, that's what's going to be like. Because the more we understand what that's going to look like, then the more we will daven for it, and the more we will fully believe and anticipate that reality of being. And there's nothing more shalem, there's nothing more complete than that type of Yiddishkeit. It's possible. We could do this, Chavra. This is what we're here for. We could do this. So we learned that basically all of our Torah mitzvahs that we keep in this world is here to prepare the grounds for full-on revelation of godliness. Hayom anachnu memalim et haoraot. Today, we are following the instructions. Ubiyemot Hamashiach nir'eh et hatotzaot. In the days of Mashiach, we will see the results. Et habiru ve'atikun shel haolam. The whole tikkun of the whole world. Shenotzru al yedei avodat haTorah v'hamitzvot. And the tikkun of the world was made up and composed of all the Torah and mitzvahs that we've been learning and keeping. Ach tiv'ihu, so it becomes natural, sheyehudi yeh maleh tzipiyah lir'ot et siyum ha'avodah ve'et kol ma shehitzliach litzor ve'la'asot. Let me ask you, did you ever build a home or do shiputzim? Anyone that's done that knows that the anticipation, even though you think it's harder to believe sometimes that shiputzim or building a home will end. It's harder to believe that than it is sometimes coming of Mashiach. You know that, right? But what drives us is that I know at the end there will be something that I live in, that I see, that I worked so hard on with designing, with work, with money, with whatever it is. This Sefer is teaching us that is how we must view our Torah mitzvahs. This world is Shiputzim central. This is it. This is Shiputzim. And it gets very frustrating. Hopefully now there's a tikkun amongst our Am, that we start doing Avodah Ivrit, Jewish labor. We do it holier, we do it more right, more correct. But the anticipation of seeing the end result is a key component of how we go about the whole process. If I really didn't believe that there's going to be an end result, why would I invest so much time working so hard on it? You say, understand, what's Torah and mitzvahs? What is this whole deal? What is this whole deal of Yiddishkeit? The way he explains it is that this is a preparation for when the house comes down. And the world will be ready for a revealed state of godliness. That means that the way you keep Torah and mitzvahs has to be like that as well. Meaning it's not just enough. It's like checklist Yiddishkeit. You have to do it with consciousness and awareness that suits, that really stems with what the end product, Bezrat Hashem, will look like. Im enu mitzapeh lebias Mashiach, if you don't anticipate the coming of Mashiach, ot hu she'en bo gam emuna amitit bekocha shel haTorah leshanot uleteken et haolam. That's dangerous. He says, if you don't really anticipate the coming of Mashiach, it's a sign that you don't really believe that the Torah can change and fix the whole world. You just believe that the Torah is a holy book that one must keep in order to grant entry into Gan Eden. But we have to believe, this is very, very important, and it's very heavy stuff. We must believe that the power of the Torah, when we say the Torah is the whole world, so powerful, the koyach of the Torah can change the whole world. What does that mean, according to this? That any investment and kesher that I have to the world of Torah, and its beauty and its splendor and its bliss, and that it like Rav Kook says, it really becomes the thing that builds me the more that I believe in the power and the beauty of the Torah itself, the more I understand that my investment in the beauty of the Torah, it will change the whole world, because the coming of Mashiach will be a result of how much we took the Torah that God gave us at Har Sinai, and we mamish made it an Eitz Chaim here. We mamish made it a tree of life. And that's why it's so threatening to many of us. Why? Because can we really say that we know what to do with the Torah more than just, I kept Shabbos, I didn't eat treif? How much can we say we really know what we did with it? Believing in the power, believing in Mashiach means, in the coming of Mashiach, and anticipating its arrival means you really believe that you could change the whole world with really being a walking Sefer Torah, and living Torah, and learning Torah, and taking it to the places that look, who brought about the consciousness of Mashiach more than Lubavitch? Anybody? Never. Bichlal. And what, Lubavitch just puts up booths and saying, here, come talk about Messiah? Mapitom. It's engaging people with Shmirat Torah v'Hamitzvot. Whether it's women with Shabbos candles, men with tefillin, and all the other mitzvahs that the Rebbe put together. So this last line is very important. We're going to end with this. This last line, there's a few hands up. I'm sorry, we'll have to wait till next time. But this last thing is very important. I'm going to read it again, the bottom, these first two lines on the page. Im en hu metzapeh libiyat HaMashiach. If you're not really anticipating the coming of the Mashiach, it's a sign that you don't really believe that the Torah can change the whole world. Now, for many people, saying the word Torah, or actually saying Torah, that's the trigger for many. When men's shiurim, when I talk like this, I see who shuts down right away. You have all this chavra that basically are still, like, it doesn't matter what age they are, they hear the word Torah, and they just shut down. Because it brings up all these triggers from childhood, from yeshiva. You know what I'm talking about? It's not so much with women, right? It's less, nachon? It exists, but it's less. Because we have to learn from people that when they say Torah, what do you hear?
Beauty and joy.
Beauty, joy, bliss, Mashiach. And not hell's waiting. Or even Gan Eden's waiting. Even that. It's not about that. Alavai, the world that we're creating right now, in this moment, the way we speak about Talmud Torah, the way we understand this context of Torah, should be one that makes you anticipate the coming of Mashiach more and more. There's a lot on the plate. There's much more we have to fill in. We just did the beginning of this chapter. But I believe, Bemet, that we're on the right track. Not to solving everything, but I believe we're on the right track to living the life that I could say that I believe Be'emunah Shleima B'Vias HaMashiach, which means with anticipation, with understanding what's waiting for me. And Alavai, Hashem should have Rahmanas on us and make this journey towards living a conscious life just be easier and smoother. B'Shem Kol Yisrael, because we're doing this learning for the sake of all of Am Yisrael right now. Okay. We should hear a week of good news, B'ezrat Hashem.